rotations. We need to do a little bit of vocab here. Every time you were told to rotate a shape, what 3 pieces of information do you need to know? Okay. When we go to rotate something, we need to know what. Right? Which direction? That's one. So we need to know direction. Okay. Direction usually refers to, are you going clockwise or counterclockwise? And the clock is a good one. They have a clock in the room. It does work. Clockwise is the way that the second hand is going. Counterclockwise is going backwards. Okay, so our direction would be clockwise. Or counterclockwise. Can you think of something else we need to know in order to rotate? Okay, the coordinates. How far you're going to rotate it, right? So when we rotate these objects, we rotate them by degrees. If you played around at all on Friday with the Khan Academy, I told you how much to rotate it. That one told you to rotate maybe 60 degrees, maybe even 330. We are, for the most part, going to stick with rotating 90, 180, 270. Okay? So, and then what about the last one? Do you know what we need to know? We need to know what we call the point of rotation. Okay, the point of rotation is where you're going to rotate about, and you're going to see that. Today we're going to rotate about the origin. And what is the origin? Keenan? 0, 0. Okay? A lot of times you're rotating about the origin, but we sometimes give you a point. Again, if you worked in Khan Academy, you saw that. It asked you to move it. And we'll get to see that today. Okay, so let's just hop right into a problem. Okay, we're going to rotate triangle BAT, B-A-T, where B is negative 5, 3, A is negative 1, 4, and T is negative 2, 2. We're going to rotate it 180 degrees clockwise about the origin. Okay, first I would start with my point. Rotating about the origin. The origin again is where? 0, 0. So I always put that point on my graph. Then I look at what direction am I going to rotate it. And it said what? Clockwise. Again, if you are not sure, clockwise, counterclockwise, the clock is clockwise. You can always look at the second hand to know what direction it's going. So I always write a little arrow with mine so I know what direction I'm going to be turning. Okay, so I recommend that you write that on there to keep yourself reminded of that. Okay, if we're rotating 180 degrees, we got to figure out, and we call these turns. We're going to figure out how many turns we're going to rotate it. Okay, let's go ahead and get our points on there first, and then we'll discuss what these turns look like, what the 180 looks like. So go ahead and graph triangle BAT. Remember, you must walk before you ride the elevator. And you need to label as you go. So negative 5, 3 is B. I'm going to go negative 1, 4, and write an A. Negative 2, 2, and write a T. Your rulers come in handy with this to keep your lines straight. Okay, so we will find some rules here that you can use. There's a couple different ways you can do this, so if you go looking for videos to help you, there's different ways. So this is not the only way. Let's go ahead and get these in here. So I -5, 3, -1, 4, and I'm just pulling it from my original problem. -2, 2. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do this using what we call patty paper. So let me get you some. Okay, so what you're going to do on the corner of your patty paper is you're going to get down your X and Y axis and your triangle labels. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so I have my piece of patty paper here. Mind you, yours fits on your paper, which is nice. So you're just going to lay it on there, and then you're going to get the X and Y axis on there and try to use the corner of your paper. This works best with pencil. Your pens don't work very well, so if you have a pen and it's not working, you can borrow a pencil up here. So you get your X and Y axis on there and try to use the corner again, and then get your triangle on there. And you're going to want to put your letters on there also. This one I'm going to move through a little slowly, and then we'll move a little quicker through the other ones. So when it's all said and done, you should be able to pick it up, see your X and Y, okay, and then see your triangle. So if I take this off my board here, mine looks like this, okay. Some of you, you don't necessarily have to get the entire coordinate. If you notice, I kind of just got a piece of it. This will work. The biggest thing is knowing exactly where your point of rotation is, my origin, because this is where we are rotating about. Okay, this is our point of origin. We're rotating about this right here. So now we need to discuss, before we move on, what this 180 degrees looks like. If I were to take my shape here and I were to turn it once, how many degrees is that?
90.
90. So how many times do I need to turn it?
2.
2 turns. So I'm going to write that up here so I don't forget. I'm going to go 2 turns. So I'm going to do 2 turns clockwise. So I have my arrow in my direction. And so I lay it on here. And I'm going to go 2 turns. I'm going to go 1. I'm going to realign it because I want to make sure it's right. That's 1. You said 2. So I'm going to go 2. And I'm going to realign my X and Y axis where my point of rotation is. And your new points, your new triangle, should fall on points if you get it set up right. Okay, so you've got your paper laying there. Now what you have to do is you have to kind of pick it up a little bit and write that triangle underneath. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick where my B is. I'm going to pick it up. I can look at 5, -3, and I'm going to put it under here at 5, -3. I'm going to put B prime. I put a little mark because this is my new one. You're going to do that for the whole triangle. You're going to pick it up a little bit. 1, -4. You should be able to see the coordinates through your patty paper. 1, -4 is A prime. The little comma is called prime. So I got my points under there, and I'm going to connect my dots for my triangle. Again, a straight edge works nice for this. You have a straight edge handy. Yes. Should be a triangle.
It's a triangle. It's a triangle.
Two.
1, 2, 3. You know this. Oh. You're here.
Okay, so T is 2, -2. So I'm writing my points down over here as they go. Because you're going to notice I want your new points. As you work through the problem, I'm going to ask you for your new points. So generally, I will be honest, what I do, because this is my first one, you'll see, because when we get into doing multiple transformations, my first one looks original. My second one I generally shade. And then when I go for multiples, I generally like put stripes. You'll see I'll keep changing them up so you can see the difference. So now you've rotated the triangle. Okay, so describe how you did the rotation. I went 2 turns clockwise, right, about the origin. So let's go around X, Y axis. Now there is kind of a shortcut if you can memorize all these. It says describe what happens to the coordinates of each point. So when you rotate 180 degrees, what happens to the coordinates? It went from, let's say, X, Y. What happened from this X to this one? From this X to this one? From this X to this one? Okay, it changed. So if it was positive, it would have been negative, right? Opposite sign, change signs. And then from the Y, it went from 3 to -3, 4 to -4, 2 to, so what happened to it? Right? It also changed signs. So that's what they call the shortcut. You can use the patty paper and do that every time if you wish. I'm a visual learner. Remember, I tell you that all the time. I'm a visual learner, so the patty paper works best for me. Questions so far? Okay, I want you to start on the second one. No questions here? Okay, I want you to start on the second one. Graph it. Find your points of rotation. Highlight that point of rotation. What is our point of rotation? What's our point of rotation? The point of rotation is the point that we're rotating about. Not the direction. These are all great. We're going to use all these. The point of rotation. The point that we're rotating it about.
1, 2.
Right. It says about the origin. What's the origin?
Oh,
right here. This is new to you. 0, 0, right? So we're going to rotate it about 0, 0. Today we're going to do that each time. We are going to change it up and we're going to add points that you're going to rotate about. So 0, 0. You need to highlight that line. You need to make sure you're highlighting or Making it darker, those two lines that you're rotating about with your pencil. The origin's a little easy because it's already kind of solid for you. So I'm going to rotate about this. So that needs to go on my patty paper when I get there. Okay, now let's get into the directions and how far. And so which direction? Counterclockwise. So I'm going to give myself an arrow and look at the clock to make sure I'm doing that right. How many turns? Okay, so we're going 2 turns. Going counterclockwise, so it's kind of backwards. And then about 0, 0. That's my point of rotation. And now get your patty paper out, and you are going to copy that on there. Make sure you get your letters written down. They must be on your paper. And they should be on your patty paper so you know where they're at. Okay, so once you get it on your patty paper, then go 2 turns to the left, counterclockwise, and get it written on your paper. Make sure when you turn it, you realign each time. Okay, make sure when you turn it, you start here. Make sure when you turn it, you realign each time. Meaning get your X and Y axis, that line that's highlighted, get it realigned. Any questions so far? And these should each have little marks. Should be G prime, S prime, and T prime. Okay, and then you're going to describe what happens when we started from X and Y. What happened to them? They turn negative. Isn't that what happened the last time? What's the same from problem 1 to problem 2? We rotated it how much? 180, right? Number 1 and 2, we both rotated 180. So if I stood here and I turn 180 degrees, I'm facing away, right? If I stood here and I turn the other way, I'm still facing the same direction. So the same thing's going to happen with 180 no matter which way you turn it. Questions there? Try number 3. Try the next one. Graph it.
What's that last part say with X?
It goes from X to Y and it changes from negative X to negative Y. If the patty paper works for you, you don't have to worry about these rules that we're applying or finding.
I got it.
Okay, so I'll just work on number 3. Be careful with H. You should get it plotted in the correct spot. H should be on the y-axis. Okay, so I got one turn for my 90 degrees, and I'm going clockwise, so I'm going to the right. And then I'm using .00. I highlighted it, and that's going to go on my patty paper. So try that out.
What the?
So is my triangle moving to the left or down?
Down.
Down, because we're going clockwise, right? Look about right. Okay, I started with X and Y, and what happened? What happened to these numbers here, going to your second one, your primes?
They just switched.
Okay, they switched places, so it went from Y to X. Anything else change?
Well, they went to negative.
Which one?
G and L.
The second one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this probably would have went negative 2 if it would have been, wouldn't have been 0. H would have been negative. So then it took these numbers, the first one's the x's, changed them. I feel like that was fast.
Yeah, it was. Right on.